Good morning if you're Shannon, as she is in California time. We are excited today to have Shannon with us. Shannon Mccoy will be a speaker at a retreat on the spiritual impacts of abuse. And today we're going to be talking a little bit more about that. We're going to be talking about how we often turn towards substitutes to heal the voids in our soul after we have been through abuse, and how we can find healing in Christ instead of having to run to worldly comforts or substitutes to fill the pain that's there. Before we get started and I introduce yourself, if you could drop in the comments below where you are commenting, where you're watching from. Tell us if you're coming to the retreat. If you've signed up yet, we'd love to know. Maybe you'll connect with somebody in the chat that's also at the retreat from your area. That's our goal, is to see more connection. And if you want, go ahead and hit share and share this with somebody you think would be encouraged today, that maybe could use some encouragement, and also you'd love to see at the retreat and encourage them to come. So I'm going to go ahead and ask Shannon to introduce herself.
Hi, Lauren. Hi, folks. My name is Shannon Mccoy. I am a biblical counselor. I got a master's degree in biblical counseling. I work as a cytotechnologist. That means I screen your pap smears. It's my day job, but I do counsel at my church, and I do some writing, I do some speaking, and I met Joy and learned about Call to Peace a year or so ago, and I'm just thankful for the amazing ministry that you guys are doing over there. It's awesome.
Yes, and we're thankful that you're here with us today and that you're coming to our retreat. I'm looking forward to meeting you and
Yes.
listening to your session myself. I've been hearing about your session from writing about it, and I'm like, man, I need to hear this one. This is going to be good. So I'm excited to hear more today and learn. And so today I knew that we're going to talk a little bit about how abuse brings voids in our souls. So if you may saw our post on Saturday by Bessel von, I say the last name wrong. Anyway, who writes The Body Keeps Score, that abuse calls voids in our soul from feeling unloved, unwanted, unseen. And it's so natural to run to substitutes or worldly comforts to fill these voids. And so can you tell us a little bit about that? How does abuse cause that?
Well, just speaking of like a general definition of abuse, I think of it as oppression and corruption in a relationship. And Darby Strickland says, if the abuser pursues their own self-interest by seeking to control and dominate the other through a pattern of coercive, controlling, and punishing behaviors. So that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of what we understand abuse to be. And to lay a foundation, I just want to say that there's the bad news and then there's the good news. So
Yes.
first, the bad news would be that the enemy, and we know is Satan, and John 10:10 says that Satan comes to steal, kill, and destroy. So that element is definitely there. But the abuser and what they do, the motive is to cause all kinds of things. And I want to give you like 5 Ds that it causes to your soul. So to your soul, it causes you to doubt, to it doubts who you are, makes you doubt who you are and what you believe and what you've always known. It
Mm-hmm.
distorts the truth. Uh, it deconstructs your value system, um,
Mm-hmm.
and it damages your emotions, and it can damage you physically, of course, and it can just destroy you if nothing happens to fight that back. So that's like the effect of the soul. And then there's the effect of your relationship with God. And again, looking through the lens of abuse, that causes you to have a distorted view of God. It causes you to doubt who He is. It devalues um, who He is and what Jesus Christ came to do. It distorts God's truth. It causes you to distrust God, and it causes you to deny His power. Like now, this darkness is bigger than the light of Jesus, and it causes you to denunciate Christ, where some people just completely leave the faith. So it can be very, very devastating.
Yes. Absolutely. And the extent of it is, it sometimes can even take years to fully understand how devastating and how deep this goes. You start digging down deep into it, and you're like, whoa, this goes a lot deeper
Right.
into my than I ever thought it could. And
Yeah.
so, oh, sorry, keep going.
Well, I was just thinking about, like the when you said it goes deep, it made me think about just the normal, ordinary, common faculties that we have, like um, being able to trust, you know, normal
Hmm.
things, normal relationships, having autonomy, taking the initiative or having competence, and of course your identity and being able to just have intimacy. These are normal things that God has given each and every single one of us. But being in a situation like that, it distorts all of that. It makes you second guess all of that, and it kills all
Yeah.
of that.
Most definitely. It's very common for women after abuse to be very trusting of a lot of people after you've been had your trust betrayed, especially in a very intimate relationship. And so that leads me to like my first question is, so often too, we run to shallow substitutes or worldly comforts, trying to find earthly comfort and a sense of worth when we're recovering from abuse. Can you talk to us more about what are some of those that we run to, some of the substitutes and their worldly comforts?
So some of the substitutes would be, um, I like to let me put it in a category because it goes all over the place. So, for example, think of the mind numbing things that we do.
Hmm.
One would be like vegging, right? Vegging out on the couch, watching Netflix, just numbing out. It's like, I don't want to think about anything. I don't want to think about this pain or anything. Or if you're into video games, you just binge the video games, whatever it is, just to escape your reality. So that's one. And then we do like this active stimulation, like overeating. So when we are struggling with certain things, we run to overeating or shopping, just like
Hmm.
spending money, overspending. And of course, there are substances, the illegal substances, like when you abuse alcohol, and the illegal substances like drugs, but also the legal substances like your prescriptions. There's a rise in prescription overuse and abuse that's rampant in our communities. And also, the big thing is relationships. We run to other relationships because it's something in us that can be just attracted to that dysfunction because it's normal. It's like, why do I keep running into people like this? It's like this
Hmm.
is what's going on. It's like you're used to that unhealthy dysfunction that goes on. But I want to go back and talk about really like how is this a natural thing that we do, like to go to substitutes other than God? So God created us with three basic human needs, and that's like love, significance, and security. And
Hmm.
that's something that we all want. Of course, we want to be loved. God made us this way. There's nothing wrong with those. We want to be significant, and we want acceptance. We want to be validated, right? And we also want security. We want to feel safe. We want to know that we are provided for, that there's provision. So all of these things are needs and desires that we naturally want to fulfill. So if we have a distorted view of God, we're not running to Him. We're not running to Scripture, probably because, um, sometimes in the Christian church, the response hasn't gone well, and
Hmm.
you really haven't gotten help there. And scriptures were used against you in a negative way, in an untrue and ungodly way. So it's like you don't run to God, so you run to other things and the reason is you're seeking to be loved and accepted. You're seeking to feel some type of significance, some type of worth, right? And you're seeking somewhere safe. You're something is like, I need something. So that's the human
Hmm.
need that God has put in every single one of us. And that's why we go out looking for certain things.
Wow, that is so true. Thank you for speaking into that. I'm like, wow, yes, that need to feel significant and safe. And until we learn to find that
Yeah,
in Christ, it's easy to look in places that can only further hurt us and feel more unsafe
right.
and less significant. than we did before.
Yeah.
What are some of the ways you will lead us to connecting with God to fill the voids in our souls from abuse during your session?
So what I like to do is like like to think of this as a process because it is a
Mm,
process. Um, but first, let me say, so I mentioned like the bad news and what that spiritual impact of abuse does to our soul and to our relationship with God. But the good news is that God doesn't want us to stay there. The good news is that there is a way of escape. The good news is that Jesus Christ wants us to be free and not
mm,
stuck there and not locked in that prison. And there are many scriptures that talk about that. Psalm 9:9 says, "The Lord is a stronghold for the oppressed, a stronghold in times of trouble." I mean, He is there. He sees your struggle. He
mhm,
cares, and sometimes it feels like He doesn't care. Um, Psalm 34:18 says, "The Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves the crushed in spirit." So there's so many scriptures that speak this truth that this is the good news that Jesus did come to set the captives and the oppressed free. So
mhm,
so that's what we're going to. It's like we talked about love, significance, and security. And instead of looking for that in those substitutes, other substitutes, we look for those things in Jesus Christ. The gospel tells us that we are loved, that we are significant, and that
mhm.
we are secure in Him. So that's where we are fulfilled. And so in the session, I will actually like start a process, give you an actual tool to help process through. And if you can think of it, I don't know if I can show it. I'll try. But there's a chart here.
Oh, I can
It's like
see.
a flow chart, and it talks about, and going across, it talks about the event, the situation, or the trigger that is happening in your life. Sometimes we only look at the behavior. So the substitutes we just talked about, like going to relationships, unhealthy relationships, going to overeating, all that kind of stuff. So
Mhm,
those are behaviors. And we can look at those behaviors and say, wait a minute, why am I doing this? How do I get out of this? Well, the flow chart will help you identify what's going on so you can break it down. It goes through, okay, what am I feeling? What are my emotions here? And then what are my thoughts? Because it goes back to your thoughts and what you are believing. Is it true or is it not true? And so
mhm.
as you process through that, then you take it to God and look at it from the biblical perspective, look at it from God's perspective. So I can give you an example if you want me to.
Mhm. Yes, please, I
Yeah.
would love that.
Okay, so I was listening to your interview with, I think her name is Rebecca Davis.
Yes.
And at the very end of your talk, someone in the comments asked a question. So I
Mhm.
want to read her question if that's okay.
Oh, yes, please do.
Okay, she says, "My ex seems to be healed, and I fought hard to get away from him. Once he was not able to abuse anymore, he started to heal. And I'm worried my anger is going to get worse. Is it a process or can I control my emotions and thoughts?" I mean, that's
Mm,
exactly what exactly what I'm going to be talking about. It's like, how does she come out of that? She's stuck. Um,
yeah.
if I was talking to her personally, I would get more information, but just I'm going to make some assumptions. So the first thing in looking at that chart, I will ask, okay, well, what's happening? Somehow, some way, she was aware that he is somehow healing. I don't know how she was able to observe that, but somehow she's looking at, okay, he's healing. And then what are her thoughts? So there's a trigger, and next is the thought. Okay, what thoughts is she having? Which means what are her beliefs? And she may be believing he doesn't deserve to feel better. He doesn't deserve to do better. He doesn't deserve to have a good life because he has abused me. He has damaged parts of my
Mhm,
life forever. It's like he doesn't deserve this. And so that gives you feelings, I don't know, feelings of jealousy, feelings, different types of feelings. It would be helpful, like in the counseling room, to have a list of emotions. And sometimes it's hard to put our emotions into words. So we would look at the whole thing. It's like, yeah, that's it right there. That's what I'm feeling. So it's good to identify what are you feeling, what emotions are you having. So she's feeling like, I just feel jealous, and that makes me angry. And it's like then your behavior is like, I don't know what she does with that anger. With emotions, they have to come out somehow, some way. They have to come out. So I would look at her and say, okay, how is she dealing? Where's this anger going? And if it's overeating, okay, well, look at your overeating. And
Mhm.
let's just say it's overeating. So we have looked at everything where that's coming from. It's like, okay, and looking at the beliefs, now we have to change her thoughts to true, what is true, the true
Mhm.
beliefs about that. And the truth about it is if her ex is truly healing, first of all, that is God's will. It is Satan's will that he does not heal. And if we think about God's glory, we have to recognize that God's glory is for our good. We
Yes.
kind of like Jonah. Jonah didn't want was it the Nineveh people or who was
The
it?
Nineveh people of
Um,
Nineveh. Yes.
yeah. He didn't want God to bless them because they were terrible. And he
Hmm.
just refused to go. But if you read the whole story, you see what happened at the end. That basically God came to him and spoke to him about what was going on in his heart. So
Hmm.
God's glory is actually for our good. So believing that kind of thing, and then believing that Satan meant to destroy my life, my soul, but
Hmm.
God's come to make it alive, and that is truth. There's so many scriptures that speaks to that. It's like, no, God doesn't want you to stay stuck in this anger. He wants you to move forward in your own life and do what he's calling you to do and grow in your
Yeah.
relationship with him. So a bunch of scriptures to then think about. And then her feelings would be, oh, okay, I feel peace now. I'm no longer
Mhm.
focused on him and his healing, whatever she's observing. It's like I feel peace in my life now. It's like that's not even phasing me anymore. And now I'm grateful. My emotion is I'm so grateful that the Lord is so gracious to me that he has forgiven me in my sins. He's received me. I am loved by God. I am significant. I am secure in him. And that gives you joy. The fruit of the Spirit is what we want to manifest. And so then the behavior is she no longer has to sit there and overeat and numb her emotions with overeating. She's like, I don't need that anymore. So that's kind of like the process of that's one way, one tool to use to get out of a rut, to get out of that.
Wow, that's really good. I'm like, man, I need that tool myself so I can sit down and be okay, where is this coming from? Because so often it's easy to attack the behavior and be like, okay, fix this or don't do this. And it's like, no, you got to go
Yes.
down deep, do the surgery and get it out. I love what you shared there. And then if anybody has any questions that's listening, if you want to drop them in the comments below, we're happy to answer them as well if you're okay with that, right?
Yes,
And so
absolutely.
yeah, we'll sit here and see if there's any comments. I had a question for you too. Um, I had a question, yes, because I come in contact with this a lot, like with women and things like that. What would you say to a woman? A lot of times women get out of domestic abuse and they find themselves in domestic abuse or abusive relationships again and again. What are some of the ways that women can learn to evaluate some things to be able to heal so they're not repeatedly choosing these relationships where they feel like the intense high in the beginning and it feels secure because that's what they're used to. I don't know if that question makes sense, but I run into that question a lot. So I was like, oh, I think I'll ask you.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. It's really what we were just talking about. And that chart is like a sum of it. It's like I
Mm-hmm.
would ask, it's like, what is it that you're feeling that you need to fill up? So it's like, what is it that you feel that you're lacking? Why are
Mm,
you attracted to dysfunction? Or maybe she
yes.
doesn't know. Maybe so just realize like, you know what? You are attracted to dysfunction. You're attracted to chaos. You're attracted to drama because that's all you've ever known. Maybe in
Mm,
her household, that's what it was. And
yeah.
she associates love with dysfunction. And once her eyes are open to be like, see, can't believe that. It's like sometimes you don't see it for yourself. So
Yes.
helping her to ask the question, why do you find yourself in these situations? and you can analyze it by looking at what am I trying to fulfill? Love, significance, security.
Mm.
What is it? You have to identify it first.
Yes, so true. I'm looking forward to hearing more about that at the retreat of like how do we continually go to the Lord to find our worth in our identity and feel those voids of His love and acceptance, like with His truth. So I'm looking forward to hearing more about that at the retreat.
Yeah, yeah. God gives us means of grace. So
Hmm.
you have to get back into a Bible believing church, a
Yes.
church where that's welcoming to those who are oppressed and feeling less than, but not something that's going to hammer you over the head, but a church that will help you learn who God is and help you
Hmm.
to develop your relationship with God. So, a good church, is helpful to. You have to know what the Bible says. You have to know what does the Bible say for yourself. Learn it for yourself, and not just go on what other people say. So those two things initially you can absolutely start doing.
Yes. And Joy just asked if you introduced yourself and what she did in the beginning. And guess anybody else that joined late, do you want to tell everybody else again who you are? And then I'll see if there's any more questions in the comments after that.
Well, I said that I am a biblical counselor. I went to school to get a master's in biblical counseling. Also mentioned my day job. I'm a cytotechnologist. I screen your pap smears, ladies. Um, that's my day job. And then I counsel at my church. I do some writing. I do some speaking, and yeah, so that's what I do.
Yes, and I'm not seeing any questions, but we are excited to have you at our retreat, and I'm very much looking forward to your session and um, growing in that aspect of my life of continually going to the Lord to fill me versus other things. I feel like
Yes,
that's a long process of noticing
yes,
things. Like several years ago, I may not have noticed this issue, but now I'm like, oh, I kind of think this is a coping mechanism, and I notice this
yes,
increases when I feel this, and I'm like, oh, I need to definitely keep growing here and it's just it's layers upon layers and maybe we weren't ready to recognize that substitute at one point but now we're ready to face it and deal with it. So and then
yes.
also Jordan, you have a few published booklets and a blog as well.
Yes, the booklet is called Help I'm a Slave to Food. And I do have a website, some of my blogs are on there, but also blog at biblicalcounselingcoalition.org or com, I don't know, .com or .org. It's one of those. Yeah, that's so yeah, I do that and I do some speaking around and I'm so thankful. This is my first time going to Call to Peace and I'm excited to be a part of this wonderful thing that you guys are doing.
Yes, and then we do have a comment here, a question here in the comments. I'll read it off. It says, if the church is not willing to help, is it best to go to a shelter even though they may not be biblical counseling? And I will, somebody's
I would
asking what your website
say yeah,
that in there too as well.
my website is Shannon K, and my middle name is Kay, Shannon K McCoy, MCCOY.com, ShannonKMcCoy.com. I would say yes, if you're in trouble, I would say go get help, whether it's secular or from the church, because think about this: anything that is good in terms of rescue, in terms of provision. Let's say that you don't have enough food, and
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't mean you ignore, the food service thing down the road that's not even Christian and starve. It's like, no, that's a means of grace. God is providing that for you. So if that's
Mm-hmm.
your option, then absolutely take it because that's not going to steal any way from your relationship with Jesus Christ. So with that help, you know that you are to pursue Jesus Christ, and there are Christians, whether it's that church or any other church, where because we have it's the church universal. It's not necessarily the local church that's your only option, so reaching out to places like Call to Peace, which I think there's some churches associated with this ministry. You can
Yes.
reach out to yeah, different churches that may be aware of what's going on and can help. Absolutely.
Yes. And then Joy mentioned, yeah, if you want, we reach out to Call to Peace Ministries and we provide free advocates as well to be able to help you walk through the
Yes,
process
yes,
deciding what choice you need to make that's best for you and your children in leaving domestic abuse. And all of our advocates are faith-based. And we also offer a community through support groups as well, and a retreat for women to connect with other women in their area. We hope that you'll be able to connect with other women in your area and connect with women at large around the world that have been through the same thing, and hear from women like Shannon and other speakers who will be able to help you. It's not just a weekend away just to relax. You actually can come away with ways to really change your life and go forward feeling full in Jesus and not just depleted. And so we want you to walk away from that weekend with your lives changed. Just being able to walk through life is hard as a single mom. It's hard overcoming domestic abuse, but you can do it. And we want to be there cheering for you, and give you the tools and resources that you need to succeed in that. And so, since we're on that subject, also, we still would love to see anybody. If you're watching this and you've not signed up for a retreat, please sign up. We will be releasing some room blocks come mid-March, which means that once we release some of the rooms that we have reserved, we won't have as many spaces available. So please go ahead and sign up. Do not delay. If you need a scholarship, please reach out to us. Which leads me to my next thing. We are in the month of campaigning, and we are seeking to raise $30,000 to scholarship women to come to our He Makes All Things New Women's Retreat, which is April 7th through 10th. And a lot of times women coming out of domestic abuse cannot afford to go. So the $30,000 includes 120 scholarships for women. That includes both full and partial scholarships. Some women need partial, women need full, and we don't want anybody turned away for a lack of funds. So if you're able to go or able to support us financially, right now we're at about $7,500. So we have a $10,000 matching grant we still have not met. So if it's on your heart, please donate and partner with us to give these women a chance to get away and rest and to be reconnected with God and to be able to walk forward in her destiny and to be walk in that encouraged and renewed in her faith. And yeah, I'm not seeing any other questions. Is there anything else that you would like to add before we close?
Yeah, I would like to say, just recognize that in order to come to something like this, that means you have to get out of your regular routine life, which it's familiar, it's comfortable, you know what it is, to take yourself out of that into something else. A lot can stand in your way to say, no, it's not worth it. It's too much trouble. It's too expensive. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I would say you don't know what you don't know. And when you come to events like this, where women have been prayed over, where so much um, truth will be given to you, it's like you have to get there. You have to
Yes.
make it I pray that you make that a priority in order to get there and to ask the Lord to help you to overcome all the obstacles that's in the
Mm-hmm.
way. Call the ministry; they will help answer some of your questions. So don't let the hard stop you from coming.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. Yes. And when I went to a retreat, when I first left abuse, it was one of the most healing things I've ever done. And I'm so grateful. It really impacted my life. And not only does it impact your life, it impacts your kids' lives too. When you get healthy and whole, that affects your kids. So please find a way to come and reach out to us if there's any hindrance in finances. We would love to be able to assist you and help you. So thank you so much, Shannon, for joining us today. I'm excited to officially meet you
Thank
in person.
you.
California. I'm jealous that you're
Yes.
in sunny California today. I'm sure it's beautiful there. Well, I
Yes,
hope you,
yes, yes, lovely.
yes, I hope you all guys have a good day. And if you have any more questions and you're watching this later, just drop them in the chat and I know you're on our Facebook page, so I can tag Shannon in it with any questions that you have. So we look forward to hopefully seeing everybody here watching at the retreat, and come and say hello and let us know that you watched the live. So y'all have a good day.
Bye.